like to call the City Council meeting of Tuesday, September 7th to order. And, pardon? Yeah. I'd like to call the meeting to order, and I'd like to have everyone stand, please, for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Would you please remain standing for a moment of silence, please? Okay, thank you. The council has just finished closed sessions. We had two items on our agenda. The first item has conference with our labor negotiators, and we've given additional direction to the labor negotiators who are working on three of our MOUs. That's the fire, non-exempt, and exempt employees of the city. We also had three cases involving possible litigation, anticipated litigation, and we discussed all three cases. We gave direction to council, but there is no action taken at this point other than that we gave direction to our council. I'd like to now move to the next item, which is a review and approval of our agenda. Any council members have any comments or suggestions of order, or if not, will the agenda as published will attempt to follow that. Next thing we'll call for is our staff updates, and we'll start on the right tonight with Dave Hannum. Please give your name and
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm Dave Hannum. I'm the Director of Planning and Building. I've included a written report in the packet. I want to just comment on a couple of those. I should be getting the draft the draft Angels Creek Master Plan and Trail, a draft copy of the program here either late this week, early next week, after talking with the consultant. We met. We had access management plan meeting. We met with Caltrans last Monday, and they are looking at approving the methodology and the synchro model for the project. So that's finally starting to get some traction. They have a new senior person on the job, and it seems like that project's going to start moving forward. In terms of some current plan activities, staff met with Caltrans again on Monday regarding our relinquishment agreement. They are trying to put that on the November agenda for the California Transportation Commission, and if that's approved, then hopefully we will have our money within 60 to 90 days after that approval. So that's
what's the amount of that?
$434,000.
You're not holding your breath, right?
No, I never do. No. So, but at least we're moving it forward where we're getting it on an agenda, and it looks like it's moving forward. So that's a good thing. Also, been attending. I attended a meeting on the wagon trail, just kind of as eyes of what's happening, and they're moving forward with that project. And that's going to be a project that will affect the city, at least indirectly, regarding constructions and all those types of things. So we're monitoring that project as well. And let's see what else in terms of one other issue that's been kind of coming to a head, and it was an issue that was came to a head about 2 years ago in regards to vacation rentals. We've been receiving calls that these are happening all over town, or at least in different areas of town, and was looking for some direction, because right now the city really doesn't have a policy on that, and is looking for a direction from the council to start up, directing it to a committee to form a policy so that we could come back and bring something if there's a code amendment that needs to be done, or some type of other action that needs to be done, that we can start working on that. So the the previous planning director, they started working on that, and then it was dropped based on adopting the general plan. And now that we've got the general plan adopted, and now we're starting to get some complaints, and we're starting to get issues and people calling about them. So I think it's time to start bringing that up. So, Mr. Mayor, if we could direct that to a committee so that we can start working on some policy language for the council, so that we have a way to either, somehow. Yes. Sure.
This was brought to my attention about a month ago, and I did a little bit of preliminary research, and that was my recommendation to the code enforcement office. Cities do it usually two different ways. You take the position that this type of use is legal and you get CO2 tax and what have you for it, or they take the position that it's a zoning violation. And it really seems to be a policy matter that the council ought to grapple with and trickle down to staff to do whatever the wishes of the city are.
Any comments from council members?
Why don't we just put that with personnel finance, and we'll chew on that, and we'll get some information from you, Dave, as to what we have so far and what we've worked on to this point.
Okay, yeah. I'm going to try and what's been done in the past and see what I can't dig up, and then get some of the
I can remember very specific discussions relative to the actual language for that.
Yeah, so we're going to start digging in.
And it must have just not
slipped through the cracks. Well, I think there were some issues with the general plan. There were some policies that the general plan was looking at that, and now that we have our general plan adopted, now is the time to bring that back.
Because there are a number of vacation rentals already in existence.
Mm-hmm. So
okay,
so we'll move that to personnel finance. Other than that, unless you have any questions regarding any of the other projects that were on my list. McDonald's, they're moving. I don't know if you can see it, but they're blowing and going right now, and they're still on pace to be open by October. So, and also Swarbrick's restaurant is moving forward on Main Street, and that they're right around about the same time, maybe a little later, but they're moving. So.
Relative to the wagon trail, there's a workshop tomorrow, Thursday night at Bret Hart from 6 to 8 p.m.
Yeah.
Are you interested in following that?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's all I have. Thanks.
I only have a couple of things to add. On the update that I gave you, I mentioned, I believe, that one of the new police dogs was going to attempt certification on September 1st, and in fact, both of the new police dogs attempted certification, and both of them passed. So they're both ready to go. The younger one, I originally didn't anticipate he was going to be ready to certify until he was about 2 years of age, and his training's progressed to the point where we went ahead and attempted it last Wednesday along with Dino, the new dog, and they both did fine, so they're good to go. The only other thing I wanted to add was I got a phone call today from the grand jury, Calaveras County grand jury. There's no problems or no concerns. They're just, as part of their duties, they requested to come do a tour of the police department. So that's scheduled for next Tuesday afternoon at 1 o'clock. Grand jury's going to be there, so just want to make you aware of that. I don't have anything else. Thank you.
Any questions for Chief? Greg?
Greg Peterson, Deputy to the Fire Chief. Along with all of the construction that's been going on, the Fire Marshal has been keeping up with all of the planning and checking on the fire codes and making sure that everything is okay there. We were fortunate enough to get a guided tour of the entire Utica Hotel project prior to them doing anything, and they asked a couple of questions, and we were able to provide them with some guidance so that when they get to the application stage, they'll hopefully come in with all their ducks lined up. And that's pretty much it. Responses have been pretty much average right now, although there's a red flag warning north of us, and there have been several big fires in the San Diego area, which CAL FIRE has sent some resources from this county. We have not yet been involved in anything major. Okay. And that's it.
Thanks, Greg. Any questions? Richard?
him by the word.
Yeah.
I am your fellow Seaford, and I will pass you very
Your dog. Your dog.
I'm Jerry Gill, city engineer, and I really have nothing to add to my staff report.
Any questions? I'd like to make a comment. Tonight, we're absent our city administrator, Dave Richards. He's in Alaska on his last post. Two of the police officers that served the city were shot and killed in, I'll use the term, in cold blood, unprovoked. There was a person that had prior difficult experiences with the city and chose a particular moment in time to I'll use the term again, execute two police officers. And he is there right now at the memorial service for those two policemen. Any questions on his report? Anybody have any questions on his report? He does speak again about the vacation rentals. We'll now move then to council updates, and we'll start on the right with Elaine.
I attended the Utica Power Authority meeting on 8/24 in place of Mayor Lynch. I also attended the Safety Services meeting on August 30th. And I attended the Council of Governments meeting on September 2nd, and we had a presentation on the wagon trail realignment. That's it.
Any questions? Craig?
Pretty quiet last couple of weeks. The only meetings I had were the Safety Services and the Personnel and Finance and Quality of Life Committee, and we'll address those some of those issues on the agenda later on.
Jack?
Yeah, I had personnel and finance and the LLD at Greenhorn. That's about all.
Rick?
Mr. Mayor, I have nothing to report, but I do want to express my apologies to the COG director and members of the COG. I got my weeks messed up. I always expected to be going to the COG after the city council, and darn it, didn't happen that way this month. So my apologies to everybody on the COG.
Since the last city council meeting, I did not attend any meetings. I did take a granddaughter on a vacation trip, though, which was pretty good. At this point in time, we're ready for public comments. I'd like to ask for any public comments on items that are not on our agenda. And please identify yourself when you come forward, and please try to limit the comment period to 3 minutes. We're happy to have anybody step forward. Please.
You got your watch on, Mayor? Bob Maneri, President of Angels Camp Business Association. A couple of things that we're getting very busy again this time of year. We've had the summer off. We've been busy doing a lot of things during the summer, but on September 18th is the Taste of Calaveras at Dove Hill Ranch, and tickets are still on sale for that. I would like to see the City Council come to some of the events that ACPA puts on. Lately, it's been a lack of showing. I don't know if you're upset with us or whatever, but I would like to see your smiling faces around the city. Save the dates. On September 13th, which is next Monday night, we've got McDonald's restaurant owner coming to Camp's Restaurant at 5:30, and he's going to give a presentation on what McDonald's has to offer our city, the new McDonald's has to offer to our city. On October 18th, we have, which you have all attended, Meet the City Council Candidates Night at Camp's Restaurant at 5:30. That's when the 5 candidates that are running for City Council will be given questions for them to answer. It's the same debate format that we've had for the last 4 years, I think it's been. November 8th, we have the new owners of the Utica Hotel, which is Angel City Hotel, coming to speak at Camp's Restaurant and tell us what they have in store for us, a slide presentation of what the hotel is going to look like when it's finished, what their construction outline is, and what they have to offer the city. Also, Angels Camp is going pink. In the month of October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and along with St. Joseph's Hospital, we will be installing pink lights throughout Main Street, all the way from Middleton's all the way down to Vintage Realty. So that's all I have for you this month. I hope to see you there.
Thank you, Bob.
Thanks, Bob.
Public comment.
Good evening, Mayor Lynch, Honorable Council. Tim McSorley, Executive Director of the Council of Governments. I'm here to announce a town hall meeting, and actually, Mayor Lynch, I think you've received a letter inviting you to attend, and in fact, the council to attend. That's October 13th from 8:30 till noon up at Ironstone. It's an opportunity to let the California Transportation Commission know what kind of issues there are locally. And actually, Mayor Lynch, I've asked you to participate in the program and give a short presentation if you so desire. Also, the evening before, on October 12th, we will be having a reception for those same commissioners. So again, you're invited, and that's at the Murphy's Historic Hotel, and that starts at 6:30. So we'd certainly invite you, and it's open to the public, free of charge. There will be a public opportunity for questions and answers of the commission, but we hope to give a good representation of what's going on in the foothills. We're co-sponsoring with Mariposa County, Tuolumne, Amador, and Alpine. So it ought to be a good time. Thank you.
Yes, Steve.
Steve Depew, 576 Sasa. Good evening, Mayor, council people. A couple of questions, Dave, about your staff report. What's the status of the signs that are supposed to be coming from Caltrans based on the bypass, pointing out to visitors what's downtown, and when are we going to ever see anything like that?
Based on the last meeting, on the infrastructure meeting, I went around and they're up. If you go on the which would be coming west on the bypass, before you get to the left-hand turn, there are signs showing food, gas, lodging with the arrows, as well as a historical sign, point of interest on that side. Also coming on the south side, or coming east. Before you get there, those signs are up. It's consistent with what they talked about in terms of the plan. So they have put up those signs.
That's going to be the extent of the signs that they have.
Yeah, that's going to be that.
So on Highway 4 coming to 49, and then coming from Arnold back down, that's it.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. And can you elaborate? Based on your meetings and maybe Elaine Morris on this wagon trail dialogues you're having, are you suggesting or implying that that's something that we're going to see in the next 10 or 15 years?
Hopefully. Probably not. I mean, hopefully the project that's being run by COG, and really the county is the lead agency on that project, and I'm sitting on those just to make sure that, one, the city interests are taking a look at, as well as what's happening with that project. So that's kind of the extent.
The last time you reported on that, based on the state's finances, and the limited amount of finances and the priorities that a good part of the state needs, I find it interesting to imply that that's something we might be seeing in the near future compared to other priorities.
Well, I wouldn't say in the near future. I mean, if near future means 25, 30 years.
When you say hope, in your lifetime then?
Yeah, that's
okay.
Yeah.
All right, and the last one, I think John should have come up here and asked this one.
Before you leave that, Steve, again, there's a major meeting at Bret Harte.
Yeah, and I had to be out of town, so I just wanted to get filled in.
6 to 8
All right.
on Thursday night.
And on your first item about the trail development, is there going to be some kind of a conflict with not being able to resolve the Finnegan Lane stench that is going to be running close to the proposed trail, and how that would deter from anybody enjoying that particular length of the trail if it ever comes to fruition?
Well, I mean, that's something that we're going to have to address. I mean, the plan is just addressing the actual trail plan. It's not addressing what it's going to do with the stench. It's basically more of a design guideline and an alignment of a trail, potential trail through the city. So I'm not quite sure. It's not addressing the stench issue.
Well, the kicker is this. I mean, you guys are going through this exercise, all right? And say it gets to a pretty concrete development, and then we had this very serious obstacle that supposedly now is going to incur a large cost to fix it properly. Which one of those things would be a priority after you get, a concrete, based on city participation and the residents, interaction with the city on that trail, and then you come to a head, on both issues?
Steve, those are two different issues. The trail is a concept only, and it'll be the pleasure of the council and the monies available, or grant or otherwise, as to whether or not we even pursue that. So, and we'd have to take a look at, well, do we want to fix this problem before we enter this issue? So, again, it's just a guide as to what it could look like if it does come to fruition.
Okay, but long term, there is going to be a parallel between the two.
There could be.
All right.
But we'll have to address them individually as we come along.
All right, thanks.
And Steve, we do discuss it at the Facilities and Infrastructure, and there are detailed maps showing where the proposed fix to the sewer line would be. And basically, it would go across the creek, and the existing odor issue that you speak about on Finnegan Lane primarily is all along Finnegan Lane, and the trail would be following along Angels Creek.
Is that close enough to you, John?
Depends on where the trail is.
Yeah.
We don't know that.
But the Angels Creek Trail and Angels Finnegan Lane are basically perpendicular to one another.
All right, thanks.
Any other public comment?
In relation to that, I'm John Broder, 1860 Finnegan Lane. I'd like to thank any and all members of the council or city staff who had anything to do with posting the other little box next to the stink log, which explains the preferred solution to the problem and gives a general cost estimate as far as we know now. So if anybody's interested in finding out exactly what that is, there's another little box you can pick up, several sheets of paper that explain the solution to the problem.
Staff did that. I would assume it's Mary? Okay. And Public Works? Okay. Any other compliments?
Please.
Yeah. Okay. If not, we'll conclude our public comment. We'll move to our consent agenda. And tonight we have the minutes of our last City Council meeting, which was on August 17th. And I'd like to have a motion to accept those minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilmember Turco and seconded by Councilmember Morris to accept the minutes. I'd like to call for a vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, abstaining, that carries 5-0, Mary. Item number 1 on our agenda is the Bret Hart High School Homecoming Parade. We have a resolution before us and would like to ask a member of the audience. It says here this is supposed to be Joe Chimenti. If it's not Joe, please tell us who you are.
I am Joe Chimenti, and in front of you, I was told that you all have the plan for the parade. And I still need to talk to Caltrans about the signs, but we are more than 2 weeks out, and so I just came and asked for your support, and so that we can have the parade. And it's been a tradition, and so I'm not sure what else, but and I've talked to PD with Officer McEwen, and he's helped me greatly, and also Mary, so I thank them very much.
Thank you. Any questions?
No.
Okay. This is a... Okay.
Don't put near that corner. That's where I'll be.
Todd, how does it look to you?
That's great.
Okay.
Perfect.
Okay, we have a opportunity for public comment. Any public comment? And the date is September 24th?
Yes, it starts at 1:30.
Okay, until 2 o'clock?
I think 2:30.
Okay. We have a resolution that says 1 o'clock, so we'll be talking about 1:30.
Oh, no, it is what it says on here.
Okay, 1 to 2 p.m. Any public comment? If there's none, I'd like to have a motion that we accept Resolution 10-27.
I'll move that we accept resolution number 10-27, approving the Bret Harte High School homecoming parade.
I'll second that.
Yeah, the motion's been made by Boating and seconded by Downey to accept Resolution 10-27. We'll call for a vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, abstained, that carries 5-0. Again, Friday, September 24th, 1 to 2 o'clock. Good luck. Hope
Nice job.
Good to have a homecoming parade. Now he can go home and do his homework.
Yeah.
Item number 2, water treatment plant project, a change order request, and this was discussed in the Infrastructure Facilities Committee. Several items that are proposed, and we'll turn this over to Gary to speak about those, and also Garrett Walker.
Yeah, you should hopefully have in your packet, there should be 2 separate sheets. One sheet is a breakdown that was presented by Twain Harte Construction of all the specifics for each of the 5 different projects. And then there's a second sheet that is a one sheet of my explanation as to my quickie explanation as to overview explanation as to the needs and why it needs to be done. And so what we're asking for is to do a change order with the existing Twain Harte Construction for the water plant projects upgrade. And I know that Dave's not here, but when he was speaking of how this would be funded, it would come out of the reserves of the water fund, the water enterprise fund.
Out of the water enterprise?
Water enterprise.
What's the total amount of all these things?
The total amount is $225,100.
Rick, do you want to comment on it? Because we did talk about it in facilities infrastructure.
Yeah. Thank you, Mayor. At the facilities infrastructure meeting, we talked regarding the needs for these upgrades and the change of a proposal. At the time, we were looking at only doing a couple of them, but if you look at all the projects that were put in front of us, all are for the betterment of our water delivery system. And it was decided at that meeting that we should go ahead and approve the proposal from Twain Harte Construction and get this done as soon as possible. We felt that Garrett had presented the needs for these different projects and did an excellent job of putting them in some sort of order that was based on priority. And after looking it over, it made no sense to negate. I think there was 2 of them that the mayor and I were looking at and saying, I don't know if we need that now, but it was a smaller projects. I think they were a total of $26,000, and we decided to go ahead and make the recommendation that we approve the entire project.
How about questions from the council members?
Yeah, this is a change order from an original project. why did we miss these in the original project review?
The SCADA system was this. If you remember the history on this, it was originally most of these things. Okay, I'm sorry. Let me start over. The original project was the fourth filter. When we pulled the fourth filter out of the project, some other things got pulled that probably should have stayed in. One for sure is actually the most expensive one, which was the SCADA system. The SCADA system was in the original project and shouldn't have been pulled just based on my really quickie write-up. When I looked to repair the existing system that we have, it's not in disrepair right now, but I looked to see what the cost would be to get it repaired, and those items are no longer available. So we would have to upgrade the existing items to another type of operating system that's still not that adaptable to changes. So if we have any changes down the road, that's why the SCADA system would be the best way to go. And that was already on the original project, was to do a SCADA. Now, why it got pulled off, partly it's probably my fault. We were in transition, and I was trying to do the best I could with what I had, but some things got missed. So that should have been on there. The domestic pump system upgrade, this was something that I'm not sure how it fell through the cracks. So it's something that's really needed to be done based on energy costs as well as just basic operations of the plant. It's, as you see on there, it provides chlorine. It's our chlorine feed system lines as well as water pressure for the plant itself. And the existing system, we had done some repairs about 4 years ago, and based on those repairs and the existing electrical system that's involved with that, it's not working the way it was designed to work. And so that was one that I had always thought was on the project, but come to find out wasn't. And so that explains those two. The combined effluent flow meter was also on the project originally. And that one has kind of come in and out of whether we wanted it or didn't want it. So the three main items were items that without a doubt needed to be on there. The 12-inch bypass.
Well, Gary, I guess my concern is that how did we miss this? This is a big change order. So I guess my concern necessarily isn't directed towards you, but maybe the whole process, whether it be the engineering process or whatever else. That is a big ticket item we're looking at. So they all may be justifiable. I don't know. It's not my expertise. But when you ask the council to have a change order of this magnitude, there's something wrong with the process before it gets to this point. And I guess I'm concerned about fixing that part of the process. And so, and the other thing, I guess, tied to that is that we've got an RFP out there for a wastewater audit that looks at exactly these type of things. So we're going to spend the money to do these change orders prior to having the audit. And I guess I'm questioning. I know that we're in the middle of doing this stuff, and it maybe probably is cheaper to do it now than later, but. You understand? I guess
I'd like to respond to that when please continue.
Well, I guess I just have some concerns about the process one, that we have such a large change of a change order here, and then are we going to find something else out when we do the audit, or we don't need some of this stuff when we have the audit come forth? And so I guess I'm throwing out to the council for consideration that here we have a pretty huge expense. Yes, it comes out of some reserves that we can certainly tap into to do, and maybe it's justifiable, but the whole process to me is a bothersome thing.
Okay, let me respond to that. You recall that $350,000 was approved for water plant upgrades. We saw a slide presentation by Carol Wolf. Mm-hmm. Actually, in terms of council members' knowledge of it at that point in time, I personally had no knowledge of this detail. Rick Downey had no knowledge. However, when we have in the facilities infrastructure meeting combed over it, these things pop up. And in terms of I'll use the term, the thoroughness, the knowledge. We've made visits to the plant. We've looked at it. We've scrutinized it, and these are things that there was a difference of opinion. For example, I was not in favor of one item on this list, but I was persuaded that it's better to do it now rather than later. Yes, it is a large amount. Yes, it was missed. But I'd have to just say that staff, in their recommendations, we're not going to go forward with the fourth filter. Staff made their recommendation. Here's the things that we want. And in terms of a council member knowing what was being missed or not included, I'll have to say I had no knowledge of it. I sure in heck have a knowledge of it now. But I'd have to say that we did, on $350,000, approve what staff recommended. Staff did not have these items on it. And if you're looking to try to understand what failed, I would say staff failed to say, okay, we need a SCADA, we need a combined filter, we need a domestic pump, and rather than being $350,000, which we approved, it should have had these items. That's what I would say right now. At that time, on $350,000, I was not aware of these. You don't want to respond to that?
Can I?
Let him respond. Were you aware of these?
No, and I think you're correct, Mr. Mayor, because I think until we really dug into what was happening at the plant, we didn't realize the inefficiencies of a lot of this stuff that was happening and how it got, pulled off when the fourth filter kind of went away. I think that was just, an issue that got bypassed. I think it just got overlooked. There was a lot of things happening there, and in retrospect, if we'd have looked at it, we'd have went back and said, okay, what's in that plan that we need to upgrade? And we just missed that. We all missed it. So I don't think there's any blame on that. I think we just missed it. There was a lot going on, and I think there's no doubt that this stuff is essential to the operation of our water plant.
So. Okay, there's a question here from Jack Bodie.
If I can just...
There's a question here.
I don't have a question, but I think some of these things were discussed earlier this year or last year, especially the combined filter meter, flow meter. I think people that we on the council were aware of that.
No, I got you. Garrett, these were on when the fourth filter was being approved, or these were on that fourth filter.
No, two of them were not.
Two of them were not.
Right. The SCADA system was, and three of them were not. The SCADA system was, as well as the combined filter effluent meter. Those were on the original project. And
well, I think Rick's very right. When we were going through the fourth filter, all of that, there's just a lot of things were happening, and they just fell through the cracks.
Again, my point wasn't to find fault with anybody, but there's a process problem here we need to fix. And I don't think it should be incumbent of the council members to be doing this kind of thing, that they have to go back and figure out what's appropriate, what's not. So I guess when Dave gets back, we need to take a closer look at who's involved from the engineering side, from everything else, and it just kind of highlights the fact that maybe we do need this audit sooner than later to figure out if there's more deficiencies that we're missing, because I don't think anybody sitting at this table is an expert at it. So that is my biggest concern, is that the process needs to be, we need to go back and take a look at the process.
If it's okay if I make one more comment, we are on the staffing level trying to change that, and as Mayor Lynch and Councilman Downey know, I have a whole list of projects that I'm ready to go on. So, and we're discussing that at the infrastructure level, and these are by no means the entirety of the list that needs to be done at the water plant, but these are the most urgent ones, and that's why you see them today. But I promise I have a whole list, and I'm trying to, as what you just mentioned, I'm trying to be forward thinking about the things that we really need to do, and that's my hope for the future. So I can't vouch for exactly what happened and why they were left off the list. I know part of it's my fault. When I look back over the plans, then I miss things. So, but I'm hoping that we can move forward from here with this.
Gary, How about you, Gary? Comments?
No, they're all valid parts of the plan that need to be worked on. You know, part of the thing of the changes on some of these is the change in personnel, the different priorities between personnel. And like you were saying, the other thing was what happened with Fort Hill going through the process. Because as I'm sure you recall, when Carol made that presentation, she was trying to make a presentation on what she thought were the priority items that needed to get done out of that Fort Hill project. These didn't happen to be priorities. What happened?
I'd like to make one more comment. This is to you, Garrett. I mean, when I first became on the council here and we started going on to, the water plant issues and stuff, I mean, if you look at the experience levels that you've gained over the last 6-7 months, when your attention to detail now has definitely increased, and I would chalk it up for just the fact that you couldn't make the proper look-sees at things and have the detail that you have now. And so we're growing, and I want to commend you on the fine job you're doing.
Okay, we have an opportunity for public comment. Any of the public have enough detailed knowledge or want to ask some questions about these? If not, we'll come back up here. And any final comments or observations? We have a proposal to approve the change order for these 5 projects at the water treatment plant. I'd like to have a motion that we approve that.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion we approve the approval of change order for priority projects at the water treatment plant 1 through 5 as presented by Garrett Walker.
Is there a second?
No, second.
Motion's been made by Downey and seconded by Boating that we approve the change order for these 5 projects. I'd like to call for vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstain? That carries 5-0. And thank you, Garrett. Thank you, Gary. And I'd just like to say, as a member of the Facilities Infrastructure, along with Rick, we are paying attention to the details, and we are asking very probing questions. As a result of that, we are getting, as Rick pointed out, we are getting a pretty heads-up look at the actual needs of the water plant. I'll just point out a very, and I apologize for prolonging this, but as a result of our visiting there and looking at it, item number 5, which is a level control item, very, very simple. It's the least expensive of all of the items. It's about $7,300. But what that is a level control which will eliminate the constant overflowing of water, partially treated water from our settling basin onto the land. It's just continually, and it's lost. But with the level control, we will eliminate that. Again, a good conservation project. But that really came as a result of 2 city council people going there and looking at the operation, say, hey, what's that? And to your point about the audit, Craig, that's part and parcel of that kind of a look as to what is the best operating practices for that water plant. I just want to assure the public and the council that that's a mentality and approach that's being used. Okay, thanks for listening to that. Item number 3, Calaveras Council of Government Joint Powers Agreement. I would like to ask for council members Morris and Downey to give us a view of this. You are our representatives at COG, and we have some proposals in front of us from COG, about COG, I should say, about COG.
Okay. Back in July, you all know that the County Board of Supervisors had a joint meeting and invited the city council members and the COG members to attend. And at that meeting, it was decided by everyone on the board, county board, and the city people that were there. There were 3 of us there, the mayor and Mr. Downey and myself, that there were changes that needed to be made to the joint powers agreement. And we have that before us tonight. That was done by Public Works staff and Mr. Garcia. Is that correct? And I just want to say that I have 3 little changes that I think that I would like to see made to the agreement. And the first one is on page 3 regarding the board members. I believe the governing board of the COG should be 4 members appointed by the respective member agencies rather than 3 members from each agency and 1 public member. We would have 2 members appointed by the Board of Supervisors and 2 members appointed by the City Council and 1 citizen member to be appointed by a majority of the member agencies, governing bodies. And I think we're only 1 city, and I don't think that we need 3 members from the Board of Supervisors and 3 members from the City Council. The other thing I have is termination and dissolution of the COG, and I believe before any termination action as called for in the JPA is initiated, a majority vote of both member agencies should be attained. And the other, I read the Organization and Procedures Manual also, and the only thing I would like to see changed there is a Technical Advisory Committee. I'd like to see the City Planning Director and the City Engineer as member participants on the Technical Advisory Committee. And I would say that I think that Mr. Garcia and his staff did a very good job, and I'm happy that they took the initiative to do this. And do you want me to give my other, what I feel about the COG? I believe the Council of Governments is an essential part of the transportation planning in Calaveras County and the City of Angels as a whole, and I am supportive of the Council of Governments as a regional transportation planning agency. The amendment of the Joint Powers Agreement between the county and city is needed to present a more comprehensive document that essentially defines the roles and responsibilities of each member agency and the COG. Amendment of the JPA was one of the objectives of the strategic plan for fiscal years 2009 to 2012, adopted by the COG in 2009. In addition, the Organization and Procedures Manual is a document supporting the amendments set forth in the JPA and provides more detailed information on meetings, major administration and planning functions, funding mechanisms, and application claim procedures and required records, reports, and audits. And I'm supportive of all the changes that have been made to the JPA and also the Organization and Procedures Manual, except for the 3 items that I have presented.
Rick, how about your comments?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Like Elaine, I sit on the COG as a member from Angels Camp. And the need for the JPA and the change was brought forth by the county. I really wasn't expecting the JPA to be changed to the point they changed it, and and without being a lawyer, I think I can't make a valid decision on the wording, and I would have to give way to legal counsel on that the wording protects the city. I can't make that determination. I do believe that the COG makeup should be 2, 2, and 1. And in my eyes, the 1 should be a person from different districts of the county, and that should be on a rotation basis. So you never have one district being represented more than another district. So I'd like to see that, and however that's achieved, I think that would be a good thing. So, you take all 5 districts and throw them in a hat and draw it, and that's the rotation. So that's after whatever the term is, in say it's a 2-year term, then you only take applicants from the next area involved. And that could be massaged a little bit. One thing that I'd like to see and I don't know, I have not seen it, put it this way, I have not seen any minutes from the Technical Advisory Committee. And that always bothers me as a voting member on the COG, that there's a meeting that goes on prior to it coming to us, and really never we're never given the minutes of what's happening at those technical advisory meetings. And so it really makes it hard to understand what's going on behind the scenes. So that's been a problem of mine. Also, the COG has, in my eyes, has gotten to the point where it's gone beyond transportation, and that would probably be my biggest concern, that the transportation arm, which I totally support, I think it serves a great purpose, but when it starts getting into the land use areas, I can't support that. And when and I see that as being something that's coming at us even more and more, and I don't know where it's going to go, but that's a very big concern of mine, that the COG is now involved in land use planning. So it's my recommendation that we, as long as our city attorney approves of the language in the JPA, that we go along with it, as long as we have a 2, 2, and 1 makeup, and that there be something regarding the member at large, and that the technical advisory committees provide minutes to go to the COG meetings.
Several of us have served on COG. We have another council member. You served on it for a year. Do you have any comments on it?
Well, I agree with Rick. I think the makeup of the committee should be 2, 2, and 1. I think some of the resident at-large positions, we've got some wonderful folks on there and have done a wonderful job. But if you look at the way things can progress, and I'm not suggesting it has, but what it has a potential for is you can have the same 2 people from the same general area. And I think Rick's idea of rotation is probably a pretty good one. There's a lot of folks out there that would like to serve on a committee such as this. And if they had an opportunity on a rotational basis and you move them around from different parts of the county, I think that there is some credence to that. I think that in itself lends for more cohesiveness in terms of what is needed for the county from the public sector. So I agree with Rick and Elaine on the 2, 2, and 1. I am also puzzled as to how we ventured out in COG into the land use. I'm not saying it's right or wrong in terms of how it happened, but I'd like to see us get back to the transportation side of things. So I agree with Rick in terms of sticking to the transportation side of things as it was envisioned, or as that I knew it to be when I first came on to COG, and that was an arm of the transportation side of things. So I agree with what Rick has brought forth, and I'd like to see that from the city. that we implement those changes.
Jack?
Well, I agree with Rick and Craig on the 2, 2, and 1. I don't know whether that's a violation of the Brown Act of 3, 3, and 1. Is it, Richard, you think?
Afraid you can ask that question. It certainly raises a flag when you have 3 members of the council in any setting. There's a potential for collective concurrence on something, and the council then becomes a rubber stamp. So that is a question I got posed within the last week. I would not recommend it for that reason. I'm not suggesting that it's a slam dunk, but it's an invitation for a challenge that can be avoided.
Well, anyway, I think the 2, 2, and 1 proposal would work fine, and I like Rick's idea of maybe having each supervisorial district pick up a member from the public every 2 years, rotate, or 3 years, however you want to do it. There's still a lot of areas in here that I personally, as dumb as I am, need help with. Are we planning on having a joint session with the Board of Supervisors or with anybody over there to go through this whole thing?
That's what we're going to be deciding tonight. We're trying to...
I would recommend that, personally.
We were trying to get together just so the public understands, we were trying to get together a workshop, but we had constant conflicts. And finally decided we'd put this on as an agenda item to get it done. And it's one of the things that we would decide tonight as to what's the next step. Any other comments on? I'd like to make my comments. I served on it for 2 years, and I feel that 2, 2, and 1 is the right level. I have problems with 3, 3, and 1. But 2, 2, and 1, as far as membership and makeup is, I read through the original agreement of COG, and it was functioning during my 2 years there, focused on transportation. I had a few minor changes, but I felt the original joint powers agreement was fine. With respect to some of these other, for example, Rick's comment on the minutes for getting tacked minutes to the members, I would think that would be something that within the regular routine of business of COG, you as a council member say, listen, we should be distributing those minutes to all of the members, the board members of COG. The reference to land use, I don't see land use being described at all in the original agreement, joint powers agreement. And it was not ever an issue when I was on there. I do realize and recognize AB 32 and SB 375 coming into play, but again, I feel that the COG board members ought to be able to decide and give directions to staff in terms of policy as to, hey, how are we going to handle that? It almost seems as though that hasn't necessarily happened when you get into those areas of SB 375 and AB 32. But those are my thoughts. I'd like to open it up for other comments. We have various members of the county and public here tonight, and would like to open it up and get your input, and then we'll come back up here for further discussions.
Yes. Steve DeFew, 576 Saucer. One question: what would be the position of the council if this spreading out to potential land use planning, which has gotten a lot of ink in the last 3 or 4 weeks, if you don't come into an agreement and they insist on considering it as a responsibility of theirs, how would our participation, what would the status of our participation be if we're not in agreement recognizing the land use planning? What would be the atmosphere of the council based on...
Council, our representatives are here, and they could respond to that.
If those things are addressed in the new JPA and the procedures manual, the land use, the city and the county should be the ones that are involved in the land use. And the COG is not the one to be involved in land use unless approved by the city or county.
So you support that, Elaine?
I support not having the COG involved in land use and housing.
So my question is, say hypothetically, Rick, that you're in the same position, and there was a 3-2 vote again for it. The two county supervisors and the public at large representative voted 3-2 to go land use as part of their umbrella. What would the status be of their city then?
Well, but I think, Steve, you're mixing two things up, I believe. And what we're trying to do in the JPA is say that land use decisions will not be made at the COG level. That's what we're trying to establish now. And so if it got to something at a COG meeting where it had to do with land use, that would automatically, by the JPA, not be valid. That's what we're trying to establish now. So we don't want land use coming before the COG. Now, that's what we can do in the JPA agreement. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and you have enough support there to...
I believe so, yes.
Oh, okay. So it's there should be an appreciation then by us for you folks to recognize that and put them back into their original structure then. Is that correct?
I
Okay,
think so.
thanks.
I mean, that's my feel on it.
Tad from North Carolina, Utica Lane. You know, I'd like to find out what the land use thing's about. Tim McSorley's here, the county's here. Then they've all met. I'm sure they presented something that they worked together on before they got to you, and if they haven't, then I think you need to sit down and get the city's input before you get washed out. That's why JPA got informed in the first place, because the county was taking advantage of the city, and I don't think you have enough information. And the land use thing is something that probably no one else either was doing, or there's got to be some reason for it. And you're talking like, you don't want it, but I don't know why you don't want it or why you do want it. So I think you need to have